Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what is happening today in the market. An absolutely just brutal day in the market today. A lot of red overall in the markets. Obviously indices are quite red. Right, a lot of stocks were even, pretty deep red as well. Some of them, especially, Tesla once again. So we'll talk about Tesla, obviously, but yeah, with all that being said and done, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below for just $2.99 a month, where you get access to my posts, updates, thoughts on Tesla, technical analysis on Tesla, options flow, of course, all that kind of stuff for just $2.99 a month. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Tesla on yet another brutal day. This time at least with the market somewhat. Down 4.12%, closing at $162.50. Yeah, compared to the market, definitely a bit of an underperformance once again. So pretty disappointing to see. But at this point, it's not too surprising, but at the same time, a little surprising that we did break below 165, which was a pretty important level, roughly-ish, to hold. Maybe a little bit lower than 160. Here, let me put this down a little bit, something like that. Pretty important level to hold today that we did not hold today, which, yeah, is not really ideal. So let's talk about it. So, we've been talking about the bottom of the channel, right? We've been kind of, more or less zigzagging. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Where is the drawing tool? Where is the drawing tool, actually? Anyway, whatever. You see it, obviously, between these two white, lines, if you will, right? Zigzagging up and down between both of them, right? Bounced off of one of them not too long ago, right? A few weeks ago, I had that bit of a bear flag. Now we're just selling off pretty aggressively, actually. This is quite aggressive. And the thing is that we expected, at least in theory, Tesla should or could have holded the bottom of the channel again, same way that it did here, same way that it did here, same way that it did here twice, actually, not that long ago, right? Remember post earnings. And well, it almost tried doing it again over here until we just completely and utterly melted right through it, which obviously, yeah, it's not good. Let's just say that it's not good, right? So what does this mean? So it's bearish. Obviously it's bearish, right? Obviously this means that, well, there's a pretty darn good chance that Tesla probably still hasn't found a bottom yet. There's still probably more pain to go. Now, it doesn't mean it has to happen literally right away. It can. Obviously, it's so far been happening like that. We can find bounces in between. Speaking of which, we are entering a potential bounce section right here. I'll talk about very soon. But ultimately, the structure is very weak. It's even weaker. It's only getting weaker. You would think that after such a drop, there's no way you can be even more bearish, right? It's dropped so much, right? It can't just keep getting more bearish. Well, unfortunately, at least based on what it looks like right now, that's exactly what it is, unfortunately. So, oops, yeah, it's not good. So breaking below this channel is not ideal, right? We closed below pretty much about 165-ish, which was roughly the bottom of the channel, right? Give or take 166, 165, something like that, which isn't good, right? Now we are coming into this massive green box, which is of course going to be a pretty massive daily order block or demand area, right? Which is of course where we bounced off of pretty aggressively before when we had a decent sell-off as well. Came right into the 150s over here. Massive rally. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting anything like this to happen again. Maybe, who knows, but I doubt it. But we are coming into a massive area of demand. So, there is a chance that we go a little bit lower, right? We come back, actually into the 150s, and somewhere around the mid-ish 150s, we find a natural support. We get a bit of a bounce, and then from there, there's a good chance that we bounce. Okay, where is this drawing tool? Let me go ahead and quickly find it so I can, here it is. So, there is a chance that we come down a little bit further overall, and then, ultimately find a potential, at least short-term-ish bottom around here, the mid 150s, right? Give or take, of course, and get a bit of a bounce, potentially right up to where we just broke down below, which will pretty much bring Tesla from about 155 to, let's say, potentially even as high as 170, but probably in the 160s, which is a pretty decent swing. Even if you just buy the 155 and let's say sell the 165, that's a pretty decent swing just in that of itself. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of all we get, really. The MACD is still bearish, right? The RSI is still bearish, and it's now oversold. But like I said, things can be oversold for quite some time. We still have that bullish divergence setting up, though it's hard to put too much weight on it since it just feels like it just doesn't want to play it out. But technically, we still have a bullish divergence playing out on both the MACD and the RSI. So, there is that. But the thing I'm just not very happy about is this, right? I'm just not happy about breaking below the structure. That's very bearish. Remember, I talked about on the weekly as well, how we had, these two red lines right here that we broke below. And then, on the weekly candle, we came up almost exactly to it and retested it and then just continued down. Remember, I mentioned that I think Tuesday or something like that. Yeah, and it's just continuing down. It's just bearish, and it's just, the pain is continuing. The options flow is still really bearish. Literally, what is this? 20 seconds before the market closed, a 4.3 million put came in for 180 strike for next month on the 17th. Or sorry, May. That's May 17th, so 2 months out. But nonetheless, right? 4.3 million sweep for 180. I mean, it is in the money, but like, it's obviously still pretty bearish. So the bears aren't done with this thing just yet. Now let's talk about a slightly more, I don't know, broader picture, I guess you can say. What can we actually expect from Tesla moving forward? Like, is this actually over? Like, where can we go? Where can the bottom actually be? Like, where do we actually bottom? Because a lot of people are expecting the 150s. I actually don't think the 150s will be the bottom. I think the 150s will be a potential bounce target. I think we can stop the bleeding temporarily, potentially even get a small bounce, like I said, to 160s-ish, 165, let's say, for instance, right? Not impossible. But I personally don't think it'll be the bottom. And the reason is because, well, the structure is just still too weak. The structure is too weak to find a bottom this close below, breaking below such a massive descending channel, essentially, right? Breaking below the descending channel is not bullish. That is pretty bearish. And, I think there's more pain ahead overall, like over the next month or two or something like that, before we find the bottom. Now, one area I personally see as a potential candidate to be the bottom, if we go back to the daily chart, is actually going to be this area right here. So pretty much around the gap fill, potentially a little bit lower. It really just depends on when it happens, but roughly around the gap fill, right? Could be a little bit lower. But the reason I bring that up is because if we zoom out more on the daily, you can see this massive red line, right? It started all the way from back here when Tesla was trading at $21 per share, right? And then we came down the massive fall, right? Which was right about that $100 per share, bottom that we had not too long ago now. Connect the two, right? That's a trend line. And now we have the trend line extending over here to where we are right now, which, if that happens, let's say sometime within the next month-ish, let's just say, right? To maybe 2 months, like that will put us pretty much at about 140, just slightly below $140, like potentially even touching the 130s. Again, it really just depends on when it happens, right? Of course. But, that is a possibility, right? That we can potentially come down to about, let's just say 140-ish. And that could be the bottom. That actually could be the bottom. I think that has a very high probability of being the bottom, right? Around this gap fill, slightly below, bleeding slightly past it. Like I said, I think it will, as one of the possibilities, right? And yeah, around this trend line, that is a very real possibility of being the bottom. Now, obviously, with that being said, if we go down to the 140, to this bottom trend line, and let's say we don't hold it, let's say we even somehow decide to break through that as well, well, the bearishness continues. And if we were to break below this 140-ish area and this trend line that I just showed you guys, there's probably a good chance that we're making a lower low. There's a pretty decent chance we're breaking below 100. And in my opinion, breaking below this trend line most likely means that Tesla, unironically, might actually come down to about $69 per share. As meme as that sounds, but as Elon always says, some saying, he's like, oh, the most ironic or outcome is the most probable, or something like that. He always says something like that. That would literally be it, right? Where Tesla bottoms at $69 per share. I'm not even making this up. I wish I was joking. I really do, but that is a possibility. Now, of course, this also assumes that, we do break below this red trend line, which is, again, like I said, around 140s, but that is technically not it's not impossible. It's technically a possibility for that to happen. And that would be extremely bearish, right? So right now, Tesla still looking overall bearish. Looks like the bleeding most likely will continue. Probably find a small, bandage, if you will, around the 150s, but ultimately I think we'll continue down even further post that. I think we'll at the very least come down to about the 140s, roughly around the gap fill. And man, the bulls better pray that holds, because if that doesn't hold, I think we're potentially making fresh lows on Tesla below this $100 level. And that's going to be, that's going to be brutal. Let's just say that. That's going to be no fun for anybody. But that would also most likely mean the market starts to correct. I don't think Tesla can fall that low without the market correcting with it. So that would also mean the market most likely is correcting as well. But we'll see. Again, I don't think it'll be literally straight down from here down to, even the 140s, or especially like potentially even the $69 roughly per share. But, I do expect it to ultimately come down to at least about the 140s over the next, month or two, something like that, maybe less. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. Options flow is obviously quite bearish, some bullishness here and there, but look at this string of bearishness right here. Just pure bearishness on this. It's crazy how bearish it was, but it doesn't seem like it's over yet, unfortunately, even though we may get a small pause here. But yeah, all that being said and done, thank you all so much for watching. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.